And thank you, Mr. Secretary, for sticking with us. You mentioned in our last conversation the race against time. I think we do agree on that. We do have a time crunch here. And it's clear that the administration does recognize the immediate value that the Iowa biofuels community has in this conversation, given the recent announcement, of course, to provide a waiver for the sale of E15 as a year-round fuel. And I know I've talked with many of these producers and processors. Iowa is absolutely ready to go to provide an affordable, environmentally friendly solution right now to help address fuel shortage concerns. And I know when we had a chance to talk personally last year, you talked about the importance of supporting our biofuels supporters and producers, which I certainly appreciate. So if you could talk a little bit today about the role that you see the DOT having in helping to support the increased use of biofuels to help meet carbon reduction goals long term.
Well, thank you for the question, and we absolutely view biodiesels and biomass as a very important part of how we get to where we need to be on this urgent path toward reducing our emissions. It's something that hits close to home for me. When I was a mayor, our biggest water customer for our municipal utility was our ethanol plant. I've seen what that can do to create jobs and to be part of an all-of-the-above energy strategy. I think a lot of the opportunity in the medium term for biofuels will be in some of the sectors that are hardest to decarbonize in transportation. And here I would point not only to the use that is certainly going to continue well through this decade in applications like cars and trucks, but also aviation and the maritime sector. We stood up a sustainable aviation fuels grand challenge as part of the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Energy to find ways to reduce the cost and expand the production and use of sustainable aviation fuel or SAF. It's a lot of opportunity. Also further policies like blenders tax credits that might help get these things these technologies to scale. But also I would point to the maritime sector, one that on one hand, pound for pound is one of the least carbon intensive to move a ton of goods. On the other hand, just because of the sort of fuel that is burned there is contributing a disproportionate amount of carbon and other pollution and could benefit potentially from the widespread use of cleaner biofuels. Also, our Federal Rail Administration has previously partnered with Amtrak to look into biodiesel fuel for locomotives. And so there is some interesting opportunity there to consider as well.
Absolutely. Well, and I appreciate your commitment there to look at that all of the above energy strategy, because truly that is what consumers need right now. In Decorah, Iowa, I was there doing a town hall last week, and gas hit over $4 a gallon, diesel hit $5.30 a gallon. So this is something people are looking for, and E15 year round across the country could provide relief right now. So you actually hit on something else with the maritime industry, and I wanted to just flag the maritime program led by, of course, MARAD and the National Park Service to help preserve sites and artifacts from maritime history. I wanted to flag specifically about the USS, the Sullivans, is in dire need of repair right now. It's sinking. It is stationed in Buffalo, named in honor of 5 brothers from Waterloo, Iowa. They died when their ship was torpedoed in World War II. And right now, it gets its money by generating revenue selling old vessels, but not enough money in the program right now to save all important items from our country's maritime history. So I would ask you today to commit to helping protect this legacy, work with my office on the National Heritage Maritime Program to ensure that ships like the USS, the Sullivans, get the necessary restorations that they need.
Well, thank you. Welcome chance to stay in touch with your office about the opportunity here. As I understand it, the National Maritime Heritage Grant Program is overseen by the National Park Service, but our Maritime Administration is at the table because some of the funding comes from our Vessel Operations Revolving Fund. And so would look forward to learning more and working with you on this.
And we need to have a good seat at the table there. So I appreciate anything you can do. And then lastly, you mentioned sustainable aviation fuel, and obviously that's reflected in the budget. A lot of communication from the EPA lately about the use of canola oil as well as other non-ag products in sustainable aviation fuels. But could you clarify a little bit today whether the investment in SAF will be using agricultural sources also?
So I think there's certainly that potential. I don't know all of the chemistry or science. My understanding is there's a great deal of interest and excitement about how those sources could be part of the answer for sustainable aviation fuels.
Yeah, well, I know I've met a lot with our biofuels guys. They are ready to go and want to have a seat at that table too. So thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Chair, I yield back.